Hey guys, and welcome to Under Construction. Today I'm going to introduce you guys to Helga. Alright, so today's little prototype is a really simple one, but hopefully you guys will have something to play with. So here I am in Construct. Like for the last two sessions, the project is set up to be 640 by 960, so I'm just going to do this for the first few episodes. Just remind you guys, 640 by 960 with full screen mode on scale outer, and the layout itself is unbounded scrolling, and I think that's about all we need to do. Okay, so this is Helga Heli. Okay, now it's a little graphic I made for you guys, and I might use this helicopter in future prototypes for some little bits and pieces. Now, today's session, the main point is to show you guys how to use the pin behavior to pin an object to another object. Now, currently in Construct, unless you're using something like Sprider, which is an external program, this is the only way to do a sort of container. And when I say container, I don't mean the ones in Construct itself. I mean, normally you would put a whole bunch of objects into a virtual container and move that around as if it was one, and you can squash and stretch that, and every object inside that container will respond. Now, currently in Construct, you can pin objects to another object, and it will follow the object's angle and position. However, it will not scale along with the parent object. So it's not really an issue. You can easily just export animated sprites, things like that, but that is a little bit of a limitation, and I'm quite certain that in the near future something like containers will be brought in. However, let's get into this. Now, this is your helicopter. Heli, or Helga Heli, is made up of two parts. We've got this part here, okay, which is called Helga body. Now, if you double click on the sprite, inside the sprite itself, there are two frames, 0 and 1. 0 is the full rotor, and 1 is the small rotor. So this is basically a small animation of the rotor moving, okay? Now, I've set the animation to be 15 frames a second. If it's 60, it'll move way too fast and it's just really flashy. So this kind of looks like it's moving. Really simple way of doing it. So basic, and you click loop just so the animation loops back to the start, so it just keeps cycling. All right, so we've got that set up, and now this one here is called Helga rotor. Now, Helga rotor is just a simple graphic, and all I've done is add a sine behavior to it, okay? So the sine is set to angle, the wave is set to sawtooth, the standard one is sine, and sine is kind of a backwards forwards type of thing. Sawtooth makes sure that when I'm turning it, because as you see here, I've set the magnitude to 360. So since we're talking about angle, 360 will relate to degrees. So once it's done a full 360 turn, it will just make sure that it restarts where it stopped and keeps going, okay? So instead of going, if I left it on sine, it would go this way and then it would come back, okay? So we don't want it. So angle, sawtooth, period, 0.5. You can play with all these settings. These are just the right ones that I feel for this animation. And the other thing is we've added a pin behavior to the rotor. Now, in the event sheet for layout 1, very, very simple, this one. Oh, one thing I forgot really quickly is that Heli also has a behavior, okay? And that's a vertical and sine. Period 2, magnitude 32. So since we're talking vertical, the magnitude here relates to pixels, okay? So comes down 32 and up 32 and down 32. I think that's what it is. Now period 2, so it moves a little bit slower, and because it's sine, it keeps going like this. Okay, now the event sheet for layout 1 is extremely basic on this one. It is all it is me at the start of layout saying, I'll just stretch this out, Helga rotor, pin it to Helga body, position and angle. Now the pin will happen exactly where you place it on the layout. Okay, so if I put it here, it would always be pinned to that point, but we want it on the tail. Now if you click play or preview, there is your helicopter. Okay, so these settings felt right to me. We've got a simple animation. Whenever you want to move the helicopter, you move the main body. So in any events, you would be moving Helga body, and basically the rotor just follows. As usual, I will leave all the download links and the preview and etc. in the description, and you guys can download this, have a play with it. And like I said, I will probably be using, well, most likely I'll be using Helga Heli for some future prototypes, maybe some tiny mini games that we might make as prototypes, etc. And yeah, hope you guys have fun. Sorry about this brightness behind me. It's very, very sunny outside. Lucky I've got the blinds. They at least stop a little bit of it coming in. Otherwise, you guys would be blinded from the background. All right, have a really cool week, guys, and I will see you next time in another episode of Under Construction.